So my parents cut me off because I married someone they didn't approve of. I said, I don't care, I choose him, not you. Well, now I'm pregnant and they're begging me for them to come back into my life. Okay guys, let's start from the beginning because this story is bonkers. My husband Alex, who's 25, and I met in high school. He was the only popular kid who spoke to me, and we became friends that way. We started dating a year after that, while still in high school. We've been together for about 9 years, married for 2. My family is of Indian origin. My parents were a bit strict growing up, but never asked me to not date. However, when I told them about Alex, they were very upset. They told me I could not date someone who was white. We had a whole fight over it, and until graduation, I pretended to break up with Alex. We both moved away for college, and my mom found out that I was still with him because of an Instagram post I made. Stupid, I know. They were still disapproving of him, and it hurt my heart to see them slowly ignore me more and more. But we talked at least every few months, and I was grateful for that. 2 years ago, Alex proposed and I said yes. I told my family and they gave me an ultimatum. I chose Alex, and my entire family, including relatives and brother, cut me off. 2 weeks ago, I found out I was pregnant. A mutual friend told my brother, and my brother told my dad, and my dad called me. My mom and brother were both in there too. They told me they were very sorry for doing what they did, and that they were wrong to not approve Alex. We talked for about 3 hours. There was a lot of tears. They asked me if they could come to visit, and I said I'd ask Alex and give them an answer after. After Alex came home, I told him about my conversation, and he got really angry. He said he did not want my parents anywhere near our child, and we went back and forth about what we should do. Alex was obviously too uncomfortable with the idea, so I dropped it. I texted my brother because I thought he'd be the one to not be upset about our decision. I told him we could not forgive them out of the blue, but maybe in a few years. My relatives and mom are constantly calling me now, telling me I'm selfish for keeping her for her grandchild. My mother-in-law thinks we should forgive them as well, but my father-in-law thinks that's BS. So basically, I need other opinions in here too. Here I am. I don't know what's right or who's right. What should I do about this situation? Any advice is welcome, thank you. Okay, so we have someone in the comment section that actually lives in India, and they wanted to add a little thing to the story. Back in India, I've seen far too many cases like yours, OP. Girls and guys from different communities marry each other, and then from each other's side, honor killings happen. Google honor killings. This is very much a real deal, actual possibility. Yours, Alex, and your child's safety matters the most here. Comment 2 replies to that and says, yeah, unfortunately this happens very often in India. The parents usually are very excited to be in the grandchild's life. Usually, the grandchild brings the families together, and in most cases, the relationship with both sides could get better and stay that way. So guys, let me know what your thoughts are on this story. How crazy is this? Drop your comments down below, and we're going to turn our attention to story number 2. I'm not letting my wife and my newborn go to her maternal home. Here we go, story 2. Okay, background. Mine was an arranged marriage. Met my wife after everything from both families was fixed. Got married 2 years back, and we're both from Bihar. Both educated, living in a metro city currently. We get along just fine. My wife was earlier very reluctant and mechanical in sex. We were having it just for the sake of it. Slowly, she opened up and it got better at around 5 to 6 months. No issues there. I always suspected something was off with her though. One day, something happened after which she got very emotional. I consoled her and she confided in me that her father used to sexually abuse her since she was a class 8. Started with inappropriate touching, then moved on to full-on fool, while drunk. I did not ask how many times. Her mother knew, but did nothing as he's beaten her before. She just usually pretends to be sleeping or actually sleeping, who knows. She said he does this when he gets drunk. They all used to sleep on the same bed. She didn't say anything because he said he would discontinue her education and marry her away. After 12th, she moved to the hostel, and when she got home in vacations, it happens. Inappropriate stuff, and sometimes sexual abuse. Her marriage was fixed as soon as her education got over. All these things stopped after fixing of marriage. She said that's why she was so hesitant to open up earlier, but after establishing trust, opened up. I wanted to confront him, but she did not even let me confront him. Thinks about the family honor. What would relatives think if it got out? It happened to me, not you. I don't want it to come out. Past is past, all emotional storm. This all happened 1.5 years back, from what I made a point of never for a single day sending her to her maternal home alone. Always with me. We get a separate room, stay there, so no problems thereafter. Now, the present problem. We had a baby girl last week. Her mother was here to help her through, and it's customary here after childbirth. Her mother wants to take her home to meet extended family, but I don't want my baby to go even near that man. She's saying that I'm overreacting and nothing's gonna happen. Okay, fine. Nothing may happen with my wife now, past is past. But just the thought of that man with my newborn baby fills me with rage. I can't let that man ever near her. Not now, not ever. I don't know if I'm overreacting or over what. I basically told her if she wants, she could go with her mother. I would call my mom and keep the baby with me here. But won't let my baby near that man. Just the thought of him touching my innocent child is something I can't handle. I don't know what I'm doing. Am I being unreasonable, too emotional, or what? What should I do? Update. The unequivocal suggestion I got from here was that I should just not let her go. I called my parents that night and told them the whole story. They understood it completely, but also recognized the fact that I cannot allow her to go. Family, customs, relations, the whole shebang. People will start murmuring. So I've come up with a different solution, and that was a confrontation. I sat down my mother-in-law and my wife and told both of them that I don't want my daughter in any case to be near her husband. First, she tried to act aloof, but I maintained my strictness and said, I don't care what happened in the past. To know what your husband did to your daughter, and I will not let him do it to mine. Period. Get it through your head. After I made it clear that she doesn't even acknowledge the situation, I won't let her go. She broke down and started cursing my wife for airing the family dirty laundry to me. I again strictly told her to calm down, take the night and think about it. There was a comment here that maybe my wife was lying. No, she wasn't. You could just feel the trauma in the person's bodies and eyes and the shivering. Nobody can fake that. I went to office the next day, talked to my boss, and negotiated a week leave. That evening's situation at home was gloomy as before. But as my mother-in-law had actually acknowledged the situation now, she was ready for the compromise, so I made my demands. Number 1, number 2, and number 3. Number 1. I only got leave for 1 week, so I would accompany them to their hometown for 5 days. After that, my wife and I would return. Not a day less, not a day more. She would not try to emotionally blackmail my wife to stay longer without me being there. I would get in return tickets beforehand. Number 2. She would make sure every ceremony to be completed in those 5 days. Whosoever related wants to visit, do it in that time. And finally, number 3. She would personally make sure my daughter would not go into the hands of my father-in-law, or I would publicly make a scene. I won't care who's saying what. I would take my daughter from him and leave, period. Well, she was reluctant for the third point, but I was adamant. She finally agreed, and the next day she went back to her home alone for the preparations of the various ceremonies to be held. Initially, she wants to take my wife and my baby with her, and I was to join them for ceremonies only. That's when this whole drama started. For my wife's part, after my mother-in-law left, I told her that I'm concerned about her well-being. as it was pointed out in this sub that her defending her father is not normal. It's a coping mechanism. Did not tell her I posted it online or used words like PTSD. She got defensive again. Someone has commented about some postpartum stuff. I was worried about it too. I told her she needs therapy now. She got extremely agitated about how it went from just a matter between the two of us getting therapy. I don't know. Maybe she was hormonal. For 2 days she was pissed and was definitely not ready to talk about it. Well, we had follow-up schedules with a GYNA, and I think here I did something to duck it up. After normal checkups, I told the doctor about my wife's trauma, thinking maybe she could convince her. I was told to go out, and they talked for about an hour. I was sitting outside thinking I ducked up the whole situation, but when I was called inside, my initial instincts were right. The doctor had convinced my wife to confront her past, that these kind of situations are actually very common, and people don't talk about it. Conservative society. She referred her to a psychiatrist who she knows personally, and we would make an appointment with her after getting back from hometown. Situation with my wife is tense now. She's agreed for now for therapy. Hope she doesn't change her mind. We're going to her mother's house for 5 days, and they will definitely talk. I guess my mother-in-law will try to talk my wife out of going to therapy. Some airing dirty laundry crap. Now, I'm thinking it was an idiotic move of me to take up this therapy issue now. I should have waited for coming home to do this. We're leaving this weekend. Hope I don't have to face any more drama. We'll update if anything happens. What a horrible situation to be in. This story was full of toxicness and just abuse. There was one comment from somebody that had a similar situation happen to them. They shared their story in the comment section, so let's read it now. I was sexually assaulted by a family member when I was a child, and due to culture and customs, I was also told to keep it under wraps because, quote, what would the family say? My mother prevented it from continuing to happen, but that was about it. Your daughter is very lucky to have a father who's willing to protect her at all cost. I think you're taking all the right steps to protect her and your wife. Your wife might not see it now, but hopefully with time and help from therapy, she can one day understand the steps you're taking now. We need more fathers out there like you. Good luck. Guys, I think that was some good advice, and a similar situation story always helps out the original poster. So guys, let me know. What did you think of that story? What would you do if you were the father and you were in OP's position? Drop your comments down below and we'll turn our attention to the final story of the day. Posting an update on my story using a throwaway. Sister-in-law who's 14 accused me, 26-year-old, of impregnating her. Since this is basically over, I'm posting this update of what happened. The old post was deleted for not using the throwaway format, so a quick summary. Leaving out a lot due to this being mobile, and way too much stuff went on to cover here. My sister-in-law, who's 14, got pregnant, and when her parents found out, she lied and told them that I was the father. My wife left to be with her family when this broke, and her father was in a rage. I got a lawyer. The lawyer I got told me I needed to pack up and take off work and stay somewhere where my wife and her family would not know where to find me. Oh boy, was he right. The next day, our apartment was broken into by my father-in-law and completely trashed with a baseball bat. My neighbors called the police, obviously, and he ended up getting arrested, but bailed out by my mother-in-law the next day. My wife's entire family constantly texting and calling to say how horrible of a person I was. My lawyer met with the family and their lawyer to tell them I denied all accusations and that I wanted a DNA test done. After the meeting, the text and call switched to calling me a coward for accusing my sister-in-law of lying. This went on for a few more days before the mounting pressure finally broke. My sister-in-law's resolve. She came clean and told everyone who the real father was. A 15-year-old at her school that told her to make something up. When the news came out, I still had to go through some whole BS investigation to show that I wasn't actually a secret child predator. I'm self-employed, so we'll see how bad this whole episode's going to screw up my life, and I'm definitely pressing charges against my father-in-law for the damage he did to my apartment and the threat to my life he posed. Contrary to what the most people on here suggested, I am not going to immediately divorce my wife. Our marriage was amazing before this happened, and I don't want to throw that away over a stupid 14-year-old and her boyfriend. I've seen my wife a few times, and I told her I understand why she did what she did, and that I still want to be with her given that I will not want to be around specifically her father, or her sister, for a long time. And that before we move in together again, we gotta have marriage counseling. She agreed to those terms, and we've been to a few sessions separately and together now. Thanks everyone for the input I got on my old post. So I'm glad I came across this comment. Keep talking to the lawyer. You might not be out of the woods yet. I would have your lawyer start to build a civil case against all your in-laws. If they threatened you over text, go to the police. Have your lawyer keep up the pressure on the police and prosecutor's office. Quick edit, I know that lawyers are super expensive for most, but I feel the cost would be worth it in this case. You've been accused of being a literal child molester. They are the only ones capable of clearing your name. Also, says comment 2, the homeowner's umbrella policy will cover lost income if these accusations get thrown out. You will need that information to force their insurance to pay. So guys, this is just a horrible situation all the way around. I can see why the 14-year-old father would snap at OP. Unfortunately, OP had nothing to do with this. Drop your thoughts down below and tell me what you would have done if you were the 26-year-old male in this horrible predicament. I want to know your thoughts. Guys, that's all the stories I have for you today. Please consider subscribing to the new channel, Mr. Reddito Office Dramas. Daily stories on there as well. You can find all my channels in the description below. Have a wonderful day, and remember, it's cool to be kind.